Now this is quite a normal weekend for me because I'm going to the Nurburgring to race a really fast Aston Martin and I cannot wait. But in a diversion from our normal method of getting there, I'm going in a BMW 320d because I'm often accused of ignoring ordinary cars. So, simple question is, this weekend in a 320d, am I going to have any less fun? And just how good are supposedly ordinary cars these days? Let's get going. There can be no doubt that this car is seriously impressive for cruising. We wobbled through the UK at what you'd call sensible speed for someone that drives the motorway the whole time. I won't specify what that is for fear of doing what's now known as a Guy Martin. But the thing was averaging over 40 mpg. We're now in France, and of course you have these wonderful, beautifully smooth roads, and therefore I have to travel at 90 miles an hour, even though it's illegal, and I probably have to challenge some French lawyer to come and sue me, but there we go. I'm now going to reset my mpg, and we'll see what it averages to the Nurburgring, because it appears not to use any fuel. And it's adequately fast. I mean, we're 3 up. We've got Matt, who's an Aston engineer, behind us. Neil, who's obviously holding the camera, because that's handheld. That's why it does that when I do that. And we've got the boot rammed full of luggage. So we're up to the gunnels. And I think it'll probably average at an indicated 90 miles an hour, about 43, 44 to the gallon. Bonkers. And yet, in terms of performance, I mean, it'll do an honest 135, 140 without too much sweat. We might try that in Germany. Now we're going to do something very radical here, and we are going to do some on-the-fly interior testing, what car style-y. We're going to talk about Ottoman storage space and controls that fall easily to hand. First of all, the H point. That means how high do you sit? You can get low in a 3 Series. That's a good thing. The seat, pretty basic seat, not too sporty-like. And I've got plenty of support around here on the sort of tubby bits, and then the legs, they can sort of slop about, which is good. Gear lever, nice and close to the M-Tech steering wheel. BMW is in a steering wheel hotspot at the moment. I love the design of this wheel. Rim's a little bit too thick, but there we go. Controls, iDrive. Neil is a massive fan of iDrive. Of all the German all-in-one systems, he likes iDrive the most. I do not agree with him, but I'm just about beginning to understand the menus and the way you jog left and right to get to them. Screen up high here, that's an option, so that's going to cost you some money. In fact, the total cost of the car is, I don't know, so I'm now going to do a piece of voiceover and drop it in here.
£30,000.
So I've now either got to be really surprised at how expensive it is, ooh, or how surprised how cheap it is. Right, dials, very clear, BMW style again. Good. I like all the digital faces as well. They look good. Gear shift quality, really like it. It just feels like a BMW to me. And I don't drive too many ordinary BMWs anymore, which means I'm out of touch. I know, I'm sorry. Storage space, 2 cup holders here, but you have to remove something to get to the cup holders. This thing, I don't know where you just sort of get rid of that, I suppose. I mean, it's a pretty good place to be. It's not a cheap car. Some of the materials are not the best. The plastics around all of this stuff here, the sort of heater controls and the radio controls, is quite hard. And then it sort of juxtaposes against this rougher stuff here, which is actually softer to the touch than you'd think, but I don't think is an especially attractive material. Obviously interspersed with the usual sporty, technical finishes. In this one, there's a sort of aluminium type finish. I mean, it's all totally subjective. So I personally think it looks pretty damn good. You might think it looks like a dog's dinner. There's something about the way the 320d delivers its performance on a motorway that is quite compelling, because it seems to have a lot more performance than the numbers would suggest. You can keep really fast cars quite honest with this thing, and it's all about the way they've calibrated the torque curve relative to the gear that you're in and also your wheel speed. So, for example, between 80 and 100 miles an hour in 6th gear, we're pulling about 2,250 RPM. You put your foot down and it just pulls beautifully. In that time we just did about 85 to 90, just roll on acceleration, but it keeps going. So 80 to 100, it's properly rapid. You can change down to 5th if you want, but if you leave it in 6th, it really goes. Obviously I'm on an Autobahn at the moment in Germany because we've kept going, so we're going to go quite fast in a minute. Yeah, it's surprising. So if you wanted the big engine car because you were going to be travelling above 100 miles an hour, I mean, this thing will really pull along. It'll do 130. And we're, as I said, 3 up, load of luggage. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it? The way that a 2-litre diesel, fully loaded, will just roll up to 140 on the flat, no problem whatsoever. Obviously, we're on an Autobahn. Are we? Are we in Belgium or are we in Germany? Where are we?
France, I think.
I think we're still in Belgium. Sorry about that. So just forget that we did that, and we'll do it later on.
Did I ever tell you that the second best thing about the Nurburgring after the circuit is the road network around it? They are smooth and twisty and almost always empty. And the scenery is kind of mid-Wales meets the Austrian Alps. Out here, the 320d feels a little lacking in outright speed because you really miss a petrol engine's ability to rev. But what I found interesting was how the car still felt rear-wheel drive. With electric power steering and big, wide tyres, people keep telling me that the low-powered BMWs feel almost front-wheel drive, but they don't. You'd never call it throttle adjustable looking at the 184 horsepower on the spec sheet, but then it weighs just 1,495 kilograms and has 280 foot-pounds of torque. To put that in perspective, an E46 M3 from 2000 had 269 foot-pounds and weighed over 1,500 kilograms. So your Bogo 3 Series now has more twisting force than one of the greatest M cars ever built. I think they call that progress. Of course, it isn't the most exciting car ever built for this journey and a little backroad exploration around the circuit, but the breadth of abilities does make it very hard to justify having much more for daily driving. Unless you can stretch to an M3 or a C63, I'd take one of these and waste the leftover cash on a weekend toy.